In this video, I am going to show you how to work with Dataverse Lookup columns in Power Automate. If you're struggling with how to get or update a Dataverse Lookup column value, this video walks you through exactly what you need to do so you can easily create workflows with Dataverse tables. The first thing you need to do when updating a lookup column is to find the internal column name and identify which table the column is referencing. To get the internal column name, you can either use update a row action or add a new row action here. After you have selected your table, any column that has a parenthesis right next to the column name, it is just indicating that this column is a lookup column. So go ahead and put any value on there. So after you have entered your values, and then we are going to take a look at the code view. The code view is going to reveal what the internal column names for the lookup columns. So just copy these in there, and capitalization do matter in this case. So right underneath that, I have a constant action. This is just a parse JSON action. I added the entity. So whatever your entity name is, the plural version. And then I have three properties. So we have the users table lookup column. So this just looks up to the system users table. And then we have the EntraIDTable lookup column that looks up to Microsoft EntraID table. And then we have a regular lookup column. Now that you have the internal column and table names, it is time for step 2. Understanding how to get lookup column values using a span query and the limitations of virtual tables. In Dataverse, if we were to create a column that is specifically for a person column, we would have to pick which related table we want to pick from. Either we want to pick from the Microsoft EntraID table or the system users or the users table. So virtual tables cannot be queried in Power Automate, whereas standard tables can be. The system's users table are users that are added to the environment and has logged into the environment before. To find all the users that are added to the environment, you can go to the Power Platform Admin Center, select the environment, settings, and then users. For the list rows action, we'll return all the default columns and the lookup values, including the AAD user table, which is the Microsoft EntraID table. Just for example, I have a column called plant and the internal name is ISA underscore plant. The object that starts with the underscore and then my column name and underscore value is a unique identifier for the lookup record ID. And then we have the oak data community display v1 formatted value. This is the friendly name or the primary name column. The Microsoft Dynamics CRM LookuupLOGICal name is the table of the lookup column. One of the drawbacks is that it consumes a lot of response capacity, which can reduce the number of rows it returns. The next action is listing the rows with limited columns. Over here, I am just selecting these selected columns. Taking a look at the response back, this will return the specific columns with no lookup value or display name, just the lookup column, navigation, and association links. And this list row that includes the expand query will return the specific columns with the lookup column associated table, including additional data that you have specified. Just for example, for the nursery column, I am selecting the record's name and also the state column of that associated record. And once you learn how to get lookup values, it is time for step 3. Create and update records with lookup columns. I use get my profile action to get the current user's object ID to filter the rows for the users table. So I'm selecting the internal email address, the system user's ID, the domain name, which is the UPN, phone name, and nickname. For the next one, I'm selecting the name, unique identifier of the record ID, and the type. And I'm filtering depending on the type. This is a choice column. Check out my other video about choice column values. So for the next action, you can either use add a new row action or use the HTTP with Microsoft EntraID action, pre-authorize, and then I selected invoke a HTTP request. If you haven't used this action before or you're using it for a different purpose, I would highly recommend creating a new connection. To grab the URL, all we have to do is go to the admin center, then click on your selected environment, and then just copy this over. After you paste it in there, and just go ahead and remove / at the end, and then click sign in. And then it will ask for your method. So to create a new record, you have to use post. The URI of this request would be this, and then the entity name. The entity name is what we have in the constant. And then these are the headers. So we have to add the content type and then the body of the request. I have the name for Halloween. This is the constant from the user table lookup column. And then I have the EntraID table lookup column. So for the users table, we're looking at the list rows for this and then digging into the body value. We want to get the first array, and then we're looking for the old data edit link. If your lookup value is looking for the EntraID table, all you have to do is add in AAD users with a parenthesis of your object ID. So for my regular lookup, I am doing the same thing as the users table, except this one is looking up to the plants. And the amount, I just put it as 1. For the updates, we are really looking for the old data lookup edit link. So I am updating the first one that comes out, list rows. So I'm grabbing the first row. Okay, I'll be using the patch method. And then for the users table, my users table lookup column, which is salesperson. As of right now, my name is not on here, so it doesn't matter which one to update. So I am just gonna update. And then the salesperson, I am just doing the same thing from my profile and then list users, and that user should be me. So I'm setting that to me. And then I am just going to set the EntraID table column, which is the account manager, to null. And then we'll test it out. Okay, for the moment of truth, we are going to refresh. Alrighty, there you go. There we have it. We have for Halloween. Here we go. And then I have set one of the columns into salesperson, into myself, and then make the account manager null. In just a few steps, you can work with Dataverse Lookup columns in Power Automate. And there you have it. I hope this video is helpful. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell icon to follow for more updates.